Hello there. My name is Dan Skip Allen, and this is the Top 5 Weekly, where myself and my guests, we have our five based on whatever the topic may be. Maybe it an actor, maybe an actress, maybe a director, maybe just be a topic. And we run them down 5-1, and we discuss movies, and that's what we do on the show. But I never can do this show by myself. It would be pretty boring if I did. So I have some guests this evening, and I will tell you the topic once I get these guests in here. My guests this evening are Jeremy Adams, a frequent collaborator on the Top 5 Weekly. Are you happy to talk about The Rock this evening, Jeremy?
Yes, I am. Thanks for having me back. The last few times I was on, it was a lot of fun. This will be fun because I just love The Rock. I love him and everything that I've seen him in. I think he is just maybe the #1 movie star right now. So it's going to be fun. And I think we'll be talking about a little lighter stuff than we have been on some of our previous, Pacino and Christian Bale type shows. So it'll be kind of fun to talk about this stuff. I just have to apologize up front that there are a lot of his movies that I haven't seen. So I may not, have the best list in the world just based on not having seen some things, but I'm sure you guys will kind of catch me on the ones that I haven't seen. So we should have a good list all around.
And my other guest this evening, pitching in last minute, Cameron Holtzman, a good buddy of mine. I've been on his show a few times now. I'm glad to see him come on my show.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. There's a few big ones of The Rock's that I have not seen. There's two very notable big ones that I have not seen of his. But other than that, I think I've got a decent list. I mean, I was a kid when all of those kids movies he was making came out. And one of those will be on my list. But
the thing about this show is it's not about what you don't have. It's about what you have. Your list is gold to you, and that's all that matters. And hopefully we have a lot of different films we can talk about, and we get to share, and we get to champion. That's the whole goal of the show, is to try to show people that there's a lot of films out there from these people, actors, actresses, directors, and so forth, and champion those films. Then people, I haven't seen that. Let me go out and see that film. And I know that when I watch shows like this, that's what I do. I haven't seen that. Let me go see that. And if Jeremy or somebody else brings up something in the past, I'm like, I got to put that on my list of movies I haven't seen. And Jeremy knows I have a few holes in my filmography of the
occasionally.
Year. I see a lot of films, but there's things that slip in the cracks. So let's not waste any more time here. Let's get going here. Since Jeremy is the first one to my right, I will ask Jeremy, what is your number 5, Jeremy?
Well, as I said, there are a lot of Rock movies I haven't seen. So my number 5, I'm actually picking a movie that he has. It's really just a cameo that he has in it. So I feel a little shameful having this in the top 5 Rock movies, but not too shameful because I love this movie. I think it's hilarious, and I think he's great in it. He makes a really great impression in the small part that he has, and that is the comedy The Other Guys, starring Will Ferrell.
That is higher on my list.
Oh my goodness, I'm not alone. Okay, we'll talk about it later.
Oh wow, I was surprised. Cam, I'll be honest, I was surprised Cam said that. All right, Cam, it's your turn. Let's see
all right.
Who has your number 5?
My number 5 is from a franchise that The Rock is involved with. The franchise that The Rock is involved with that everyone knows. My number 5 is Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
All right, so that is one asterisk that I will say, because you have a Hobbs and Shaw appearance, and I'm sure Jeremy and I both probably have a Hobbs and Shaw on our list.
Oh, you mean a Fast and Furious?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like they're different movies, though, right? I mean,
it is very not connected to the rest.
Yeah, we can talk about the different movies individually. I think.
Then.
Yeah.
If that's what Jeremy wants to do, go ahead, Tim. Talk about Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah. So, full disclosure, I have not seen all of the Fast and Furious films. I have seen the first 5, and then this one. And I watched this one, and the fact that I was able to understand it and get into it without having seen 6, 7, and 8, I think is really nice. I think that it's just a really fun movie. I think that The Rock and Jason Statham have great chemistry. I think Vanessa Kirby is really good in it as Hattie. I think Helen Mirren's a small part in it. I mean, I don't know what she's doing there, but she's good when she has no business being in a Fast and Furious movie. I think just like you get the craziness of Fast and Furious, like you have a scene where there's just a bunch of cars that just chain onto each other and are being lifted into the air by a helicopter over the ocean, and then The Rock is like holding them together, just like pure strength, like how Captain America holds down a helicopter in Civil War, and it's just like it's wild and it's crazy. My personal favorite scene in it is there's a scene where like they're going to war with Idris Elba, who's fantastic as the villain, and they like have all just like their traditional weapons and they're doing just like a war chant, and it's dark and there's just a massive fire behind them, and it's just really cool. It was really fun. Yeah, Hobbs and Shaw.
All right, Jeremy, you got any thoughts about Hobbs and Shaw? Have you seen it yet?
This is one of my big regrets. I haven't caught up with this one yet, and I'm really looking forward to it still, to catching up with it soon, because I do love the Fast and Furious franchise. I have a lot of fun with those movies, and that one in particular from the trailers looked like it was a lot of fun seeing those two guys go back and forth, and it seemed like it kind of showcases The Rock a little more when you get from the trailers. They were showing his family and like them going back to where he came from and all that stuff, so it looked like it was a good one for him, and I was regretful to not get to it yet, to have it on here.
Yeah, you know, I saw the trailer months before it came out, and I said to myself, this looks fantastic. And I'll tell you right now, if you're going in for some kind of high art in this movie, some kind of you're in the wrong movie. This movie's doing what it's advertised to do, and it's enjoying doing it. And Jason Statham opposite Hobbs, Luke Hobbs, which is The Rock. I mean, they mined a little bit of gold in Fast 8, and I'll tell you what, it turned into a bunch. Where do we store all that gold in what, Kentucky Square, Jeremy? That's what it turned into. That movie is so enjoyable. The banter, the trying to outdo one another. It's just like, that's what you came to that movie for. If you came to that movie looking for something, you went to the wrong movie. And those guys are fantastic opposite each other. And when Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has someone like that he can work opposite of, he is gold. He is box office gold and comedic gold, and you name it. Whatever gold you want to talk about. And I absolutely loved Hobbs and Shaw. I had an absolute blast because I didn't try to like, oh, well, nip this and nitpick that. No. You're not supposed to take it seriously.
It's just a fun, good time.
Yeah, it really was.
Seems like it's like if you love those kind of dumb 80s like action cop, buddy movies. It seemed like it was a great throwback to that sort of thing.
And also you get a moment of The Rock and Kevin Hart interacting, and Ryan Reynolds is in there for a little bit.
Oh wow, nice.
Oh, you gave them the spoilers. You're supposed to
spoilers.
Very early, it doesn't matter. Like,
did you know about those spoilers, Jeremy?
I didn't know those guys cameoed, but I don't think it ruins the movie for me. Those guys show up. That's fun.
All right. So that was Cam's number 5. My number 5 is a character by the name of Beck. Now, Beck is in a film called The Rundown.
I got that a little higher, Dan.
Okay, we'll hold off. We will hold off on Beck then. We're going back to Jeremy. Jeremy's number 4.
Well, why don't you just take it away? Because my number 4 is The Rundown. I'll let you talk first on this one.
Okay, that's fine. Beck is a bounty hunter who is hired by a millionaire who says, "Hey, I need you to go look for my son who's in the rainforest, the Amazon rainforest." And needless to say, they end up running into a treasure hunter played by Christopher Walken and a feisty, smart-ass woman played by Rosario Dawson. This is the film to me that when I saw this film, I said, oh my God, The Rock's turning a corner and he's actually starting to get it. And his opposite, like his banter with Steve Zahn as the son. The son's name is Travis. It was fantastic. And I was like, this is the guy that I want to see more of. And we do see more of him in future films. but it doesn't take away with how entertaining Beck is in this, or The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson is in The Rundown. And, Christopher Walken, you just picture Christopher Walken. It's like, if you saw him in that one James Bond movie he's in, it's like he's great. The one Batman movie he's in is like, you don't expect to see Christopher Walken, and he shows up and he's this weird character. And but The Rock, he takes it to the next level of entertainment, where he was in a lot of those kiddie movies, and he had that little deal going with Disney, and now he start turning the corner. He did a few remakes of some old movies back in the day, but one of the movies he did during that span was The Rundown. And I'll tell you what, I started having a lot more respect for him in his career. And of course, we know what happened after The Rundown and after some of these films. So, Jeremy, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I in all honesty, I was never much of a wrestling guy, so I'd heard of The Rock and, maybe seen little ads on TV and stuff, but I never really watched wrestling. So my introduction to the guy was in The Mummy Returns when he played the Scorpion King, and he really didn't make much of an impression on me. He didn't really have any dialogue in the movie, and he was mainly just buried in bad CG animation for most of his role. And so I was like, I don't know. Everyone's talking about this Rock guy. He's supposed to be a big star or something, but it didn't really make much of an impression on me there. And then a few years later, in just 2003, The Rundown came out, and I saw that movie. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. Now I get it. This guy's charming. He's magnetic. He's got, he's doing a lot of his stunts, and he's, doing the action. And he had a great comedic chemistry with Sean William Scott. I thought those guys had a great banter off of each other in that
Is that
one.
who it was? Oh,
yeah.
my God. I said Steve Zahn.
Yeah. And those guys were really funny together. And yeah, Christopher Walken is a great villain. It's a really fun kind of throwback, adventure comedy action movie in the jungle. And it was just when he was just coming on the scene. And, I think he kind of converted a lot of people like myself to, oh, this guy's a movie star, and we're definitely looking forward to this guy. So, yeah, it was definitely one of the first movies that came to mind for me.
Why did I say Steve Zahn? Oh, my God.
Oh, is it? I'm pretty sure
it is.
You're right, Jeremy. I don't know why I said Steve Zahn, though.
I just tuned you out when you said that. I think you're thinking of Sahara with Matthew McConaughey, maybe. That's another kind of adventure movie. But, yeah, that's Steve Zahn. But, yeah, it's definitely Sean William Scott. Yeah, those guys were really funny together, that movie.
Oh, yeah, they had a great chemistry. So that was Jeremy's 4 and my 5. Cam, now it's back to you with your number 4.
Oh, yeah, just my quick thoughts on The Rundown.
That's right. That's right.
So I haven't seen it. All right, my number 4 is back before The Rock sort of became this megastar. In the middle of that era where he's doing a lot of just terrible children's movies, comes out in a supporting role in a little comedy called Get Smart.
Oh,
yeah, this was one of the ones I was looking at. I'm like, oh man, I wish I'd seen that.
I've seen it, and I do not have it on my list. So go ahead, Cam.
Again, all right. Yeah, I really like this movie. I think Steve Carell is really funny in the lead. I think Anne Hathaway does a great supporting performance. I think The Rock might be the best part of this movie as Agent 23. He's just like the big, bulky, buff guy who's like trying way too hard to be the hero, who's like, he's friends with Steve Carell, but he's also like, this guy is so small and can do so little, but I'm going to help him out. And then, spoilers for Get Smart. Didn't think I'd have to say that. In the end, the twist reveal is that he's actually been aligned with the bad guys this whole time and been a double agent betraying them. And it's fantastic. In this movie, you get to see Steve Carell and The Rock kiss each other on the mouth at one point.
That sounds funny.
As a distraction, The Rock has like got a death grip on him, and Steve Carell goes, "I need to distract him somehow, make this stop." And he just hits The Rock right on the mouth, and then like hits him in the head and throws him off of a moving train or something. It's crazy. It's based off of the old school TV show. It's got great twists and turns. It stars another wrestler, the Great Dalip, who is massive, absolutely huge, who you might also know was in The Longest Yard as just like a really big guy who likes playing ping pong, like the Adam Sandler Longest Yard, not the original. This movie's fun. This movie's funny. It's a good time. It's got a lot of great jokes. Yeah.
Correct me. Is that Paul Feig or no?
No.
No, it's Peter Segal.
Oh yeah.
Peter Segal. Okay.
Yeah, he did a lot of movies.
Yeah, so he also did The Longest Yard, 50 First Dates, Anger Management.
A lot of Sandler.
Yeah. Okay. I'll tell you what. I was surprised to hear that on your list, Cam, and I'm glad because I actually do like The Rock in Get Smart. That was such a funny movie, and that's when you start seeing this guy turn a corner, and those are the movies like The Other Guys, Get Smart, The Rundown. This guy's starting to get it, and I really enjoyed Get Smart. Jeremy, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, like I said, I haven't seen it, but I just had the experience of looking through his list and all these movies. I'm like, man, I wish I'd seen that one. Man, I wish I'd seen that one. I bet all these ones were really enjoyable for him. So yeah, it's definitely one I'd love to check out. I love the old shows, so yeah, it's definitely on the list.
All right, my number 4. I'm sure somebody's got it on their list, so we're gonna eventually. I know we're gonna get. So hold on there for a minute. There. My number 4 is a character by the name of Maui. From
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I may have a Disney shirt right here, Dan.
I knew one of,
me.
If not both of y'all, maybe one. I had a feeling one of y'all would have it, but I didn't realize both. So that's good. That means we got good taste. We all have the same movie. Yeah. So we're going back to Jeremy for number 3.
I have a feeling at least one of you guys will have this one. I think this kind of ties in with why we're doing The Rock today. I have Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, number 3.
Hold on a minute there.
Yeah.
We'll get back to that in a little while.
You don't have it, Cameron?
Wow.
Say that.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I didn't say that. I mean, I don't, but I didn't say that.
Oh, you don't? Okay. Wow. All right.
Yeah, we're gonna hold off there for a second on that. Cam, going back to you, number 3.
Yeah, my number 3 is a mention from earlier. My number 3 is The Other Guys.
Nice.
All right. You guys talk away.
I really like this movie. I think it's fantastic. I think that first mini act that you have with him and Samuel Jackson is incredible, where they are the craziest, most over-the-top action movie cops crashing a car through the side of a bus, just shooting everyone. Aim for the Bushes is one of in any comedy movie. It's so ridiculous, and there's no bushes there. You can look at it, not a bush in sight. They're in the middle of New York City.
Yep.
But then after they're done, you still get a great movie with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. I think this movie's hilarious. There's endless quotability. The scene where Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell are walking towards the building and there's a massive explosion, and then they're just arguing about whether Star Wars is scientifically accurate with the Death Star exploding and how loud that it's there's all of this stuff that's so ridiculous and stupid, and you get a really good actual through line. You get an interesting mystery plot, but just that first act with the two of them is incredible, and that's why it earns a spot on this list.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, the whole premise of the movie is, we're not following the main guys, we're following the other guys, and for that premise to work, you need the main guys to be great. So for that 5 minutes or whatever that they're there to get The Rock and Samuel Jackson to get, these are the guys, and then all of a sudden,
somebody dial 911. Holy shit!
Yeah, and so then you have to kind of get, oh wow, how big they are, and then switch to these other guys. That's the whole way that the movie works. And I do think The Rock, he's so great. Him and Sam together, they just command the screen and leave a great impression on you, what is basically a cameo. And I think that they're so great. I would love to see, they could easily have spun those guys off into their own movie. I think, like a spin-off prequel movie with those guys would be great. So they're that good. And that's kind of my reasoning for putting this movie there for The Rock, just because he makes such an impression with that small role. And just to echo what Cam says, it really overall is a really great comedy. My best friend in the world is a guy named Sandy Robinson, and he hates everything that Will Ferrell does. But, I, on the other hand, do like a lot of Will Ferrell's movies. I think he's got, a few great movies, and this one's one of the best. And to just kind of mention some of the great moments, like Cameron was saying, a couple of my favorite things in the movie is, of course, Michael Keaton as their superior officer quoting TLC lyrics is one of the all-time great things you could ever see. And then the other thing that always kills me in that movie is that Will Ferrell's character, like, inexplicably just attracts all these really hot women, like all these really attractive.
There's the whole story of he used to be a pimp named Gator.
And he's a total nerd. He's like an accountant. It's so great.
I'm a peacock. You gotta let me fly.
It's the kind of silliness you love, right? But yeah, it's a really good movie. So I didn't have it high because it's a cameo, but I had to have it on there.
Yeah. Go ahead, Cam.
Movies with The Rock than The Rock movies. So
yeah. It's you define it for yourself.
It's performances / films / performances. It doesn't matter what it is. I had someone on a previous show do an appearance, a 4-episode appearance on a TV show that they thought was one of the person we were talking about favorite things for them. And I was like, well, it's technically a movie show, but because it's your list, you could put anything you want on your list. That's what I do not give anybody a hard time for putting whatever they want. It is technically a movie show, but if you want to put something from a TV show that you felt so strongly for, then whatever. And you just happen to put a couple, a movie where he has a glorified cameo, and then the other movie, which is he's not really the star of the movie, but they're both two of my favorite. If I had a list of 10, they'd probably be on there.
Yeah.
So I will tell you that right now. So we're going back to me, my number 3. And my number 3 is a little character by the name of Bob Stone. I don't know if you guys got Bob Stone on your list from Central Intelligence.
It's another one of my regrets.
Oh my God!
I'm sorry. I am terrible.
Nobody's got Bob Stone on their list.
Have not seen.
Oh wow! I'll tell you what. We first saw Kevin Hart and Rock in obviously Jumanji, but their next movie together.
No, this came out before.
Yeah. Central Intelligence was first.
Did it really? I thought
first
Jumanji came out first.
No. Yeah, right. Central Intelligence was first.
Oh, did it? Okay, all right. Well, this is the first time they teamed up. Never mind then. This is the first time, and The Rock is like this nerdy guy named Bob Stone that all of a sudden just gets jacked out of nowhere. People get puberty and all this kind of stuff. Well, that's what happened to Bob Stone. The big shot in high school was the Kevin Hart character. And he was like the ladies' man, and he was this athlete and all this stuff. And Bob Stone was kind of like the geek, and he kind of made fun of him and stuff. Well, as the years went by, Bob Stone got jacked, got into the CIA, and now has to go back and investigate something back at his high school. And the Kevin Hart's character is kind of like gets in the middle of this investigation, and he wants to rekindle this friendship or this kind of, I guess, bully. He was bullying him and stuff, but he was actually kind of like a big shot in high school. Kevin Hart and The Rock wasn't, but now he's like the big shot FBI agent, this, that, but he still has the awkwardness and the weirdness that he had in high school, but he's just like this big buff, guy. And the chemistry between The Rock and Kevin Hart, I'll tell you what, I don't think I've seen chemistry this good in a long, long time. I mean, next to probably what you did with Hobbs and Shaw there, Cameron. Cameron. They have such great banter together, and they just know how to just kind of gel and get on each other's nerves and help each other out and banter and go back and forth and all this stuff. And I absolutely loved Central Intelligence. And that's when The Rock really started turning the fast movies. And then he started doing these movies with Kevin Hart. And it's like, oh my God, this guy found it. He found his place in movies in Hollywood, in the zeitgeist of the world. And I absolutely loved Central Intelligence. So Jeremy, you said you never saw it, but you got any comments anyway? No?
Oh, I mean, it looked really great from the trailers. You know, you could just tell those guys have an instant chemistry. And obviously I saw it carry over to Jumanji. So yeah. It's definitely one I've been wanting to check out at some point. It looks like a lot of fun.
Oh God, it's hilarious. Cam, you got any thoughts on Central Intelligence?
Yeah, I like the movie. I don't know if I've seen it since I watched it in the theater. So that's part of why I didn't put it on my list. It's a fun time. You've got that great chemistry between The Rock and Kevin Hart. You've got a cool story. Some of the jokes don't land for me, and the villain presence in it just doesn't necessarily work for me. But overall, I still do enjoy the movie.
All right, so now we're done our threes. Now we're going back to Jeremy. Jeremy, what is your number 2?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a sufficiently different movie from the one that Cam had in this franchise. I have the introduction of The Rock into the Fast and Furious franchise, Fast 5, as my number 2.
And so do I.
All right. We both have it at 2. All right.
Fast 5.
Yeah,
yep.
Okay.
I rewatched it yesterday, and it just missed the cut.
So, Jeremy, you talk about it first.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Fast and Furious movies, you know, they kind of morphed over time. They were just kind of this kind of dumb, you know, aimed at the teen market sort of movies. And then once you get to like the fourth one with this new director, Justin Lin, coming in, it was kind of changing a little bit to be more of kind of this action sort of franchise that was globetrotting and doing all this different stuff. But I think in the fourth movie, they hadn't quite found it yet. It kind of, the tone was a little dour, and some of the chase scenes were a little too CGI'd, and they hadn't quite hit it yet. But you could kind of see they were trying to take this franchise they had in these actors like Vin Diesel and everything, and kind of take it somewhere. And I think it took in that fifth movie, getting Justin Lin his second film in the franchise, and more than anything else, getting The Rock in there. Then they found it. The alchemy, everything worked, everything clicked into place. It's a big, sprawling action movie that is sufficiently dumb and stupid and just ridiculous, with blueprints being on a fingerprint that somebody gets off of a butt that gets used for a safe, and then a giant safe getting dragged through the streets of Brazil or whatever it was, Rio de Janeiro, and all this crazy stuff that you want in a Fast and Furious movie. But it wasn't like as disposable as some of the earlier movies, like Too Fast, Too Furious. Like, it still had a little bit of a heft. Like the relationship between Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez's character was an interesting place there, and there was a little bit of a dramatic heft that you could kind of get involved with. But on top of all of that, you had the introduction of, I'm sorry?
If by their relationship was at an interesting point, you mean she was dead in this movie, then yeah.
Oh, she was dead in this? Oh, I'm thinking of the sixth one. You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she's dead by this point.
Well, okay. There was an interesting in between with the characters with Michelle Rodriguez. I like kind of hint that she might come back. There's a lot of movies. It's easy to get mixed up on them, but thank you for catching me. but still, the relationship between Vin Diesel and Paul Walker and kind of the family dynamic going on was getting, there was enough there to kind of latch on to. But then more than anything, you had The Rock coming in as the guy who's trying to catch Vin and his crew. And then I think the standout scene for me of the movie is the one-on-one fight between Vin Diesel and The Rock. I think that is the high point of the movie. And it just had the right tone. It was fun. It wasn't kind of dour like the previous movie, but it wasn't just a throwaway like the first couple. It was kind of a throwback 80s, 90s sort of action movie you could really hang your hat on. And I think without The Rock, I just don't think they would have gotten there. And he's really great in the movie. And obviously his character builds and eventually gets his own spin-off franchise, with that character. And I think he kind of had it right from the beginning. He had the right kind of mentality. I think he had built from movies like The Rundown and previous movies he had done to kind of get to the point where he could play this character and really kind of dominate the screen and be so charming. So Fast Five is very high for me.
Yeah, I mean, I had Fast Five at number 2 as well. I had my choice of fast movies, and I was like, you know what? The first one was the movie that really you said to yourself, this is the movie that launched Dwayne "The Rock" into superstardom when he jumped into the Fast and Furious franchise opposite people like Wilson. Why am I saying Wilson? I keep
Vin Diesel?
No, Vin Diesel. What's Paul Walker?
Paul Walker, yeah.
I don't know. Paul Walker and Vin Diesel, who had carried this franchise, and four started kind of turning the corner of the franchise. But when you bring in a guy that was going to go toe to toe with Vin Diesel, with Luke Hobbs, and he does go toe to toe. He holds his own in this movie because he's technically the good guy, and the Vin Diesel and those guys are the bad guys. And so it's not till later that he kind of joins up with those guys and whatnot. And he has a. Is it my mistake, Cameron, or does he have his own relationship with a woman, and her name is Gal Gadot, or no?
No, he didn't have a relationship with Giselle. But
no, that's Sean who has. I thought he had a
relationship. Yeah. Well,
I just rewatched this yesterday.
Yeah, it was Elsa Pataki. Was she on his team, and then she ends up having a relationship with
and then
I think isn't Elsa Pataki's character on The Rock's team, and then she ends up having a relationship with Vin Diesel. Am I remembering that part right? I don't know. I think Cam's freezing a little. Yeah,
we're losing tab there, Cam. That's
Can
fine.
You hear it?
It's not a big deal. It's not a big. If we don't get Gal Gadot, if she's not.
No, Gal Gadot was introduced in their previous movie. She worked for the bad guys in the 4th movie, and then she kind of joins the team in the 5th movie. So she's not a part. She's not a part of the Rock story.
Okay, all right, never mind.
But I think the other female, the one that you're thinking of, Elsa Pataki, I think she was part of the Rock's team or something like that. And she has then she has a relationship with
okay,
one, So there's a little bit of a stuff going on with her character.
Oh, okay, all right. I knew there was some stuff. I hadn't watched them recently, but
I'm the dumbest for getting 5 and 6 confused. So I take the cake on that one.
Well, you watch previous episodes, Jeremy. You know I mix things up too. It's hard to remember when you see so many movies like we do.
Legitimately, the only reason I probably remember this is because I rewatched.
You watched it yesterday.
We're glad you rewatched it yesterday, Cam, because you're helping us out because now we don't sound like idiots.
My quick thoughts. I think the safe chase is incredible. I think that's really, really cool. Looking at behind the scenes and stuff of how they pulled that off. It's insane. The story is very slow at points, which is not what I want from a franchise called Fast and Furious. It just came down to I also don't love Vin Diesel. I think he's meh. So I think just the chemistry of Hobbs and Shaw is sort of what took it above this one. So
yeah, I think they needed Dwayne to influx some energy into the franchise. And you got to admit, once he came into the franchise is when the franchise took off.
Yeah.
So that he was that energy, that mix that they needed to throw in there that was different than of the other characters, All right, so that is Jeremy and I's number 2. We have not got to Cameron's number 2. So now it's your turn, Cameron, for your number 2.
Yeah, I definitely know what's happening here. I'm the only person with my 2, and Jeremy and I have the same number 1, I think.
Yeah.
My number 2 is another movie where he has a smaller role in it, but the movie is just incredible. This is a movie in which Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson plays a character by the name of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and that is Fighting with My Family.
My biggest regret. I almost wanted to try to make time to watch it today because it was my biggest regret of all the ones I wasn't able to see.
Yeah, no, this movie, obviously, I saw it for the first time this year because it came out this year, and it's so good. Like, I'm not a wrestling fan. I never really have been. I never really got into it. Like, I respect it. I just was never a fan. And then I watched this movie, and I'm like, this is really cool. This is a really interesting story. It's very, like, grounded. It's very down to earth. Florence Pugh gives an amazing performance as Soraya Beavis, better known as Paige. I cried watching this movie. The ending of the movie where I was going to say spoilers, but this is real life and it's already happened. When she wins the title at the end of the movie and she's just like giving a speech and she's crying, I'm like, oh man. And I started to tear up because I'm like, this is so good. Her performance is incredible. Like the fight scenes are all really good. The Rock is really cool in it. And I love that it doesn't just focus on her, but it focuses on like how her career affects her family and especially her brother, because the two of them try up together, trying to get there as a team, and then he doesn't make it, and he ends up like causing serious damage to his body in an effort to like, make money and in an effort to get noticed. And it's really interesting. I think it's very well written. I think it's very funny. I think Vince Vaughn is really good in it. Yeah, it's a really good movie. I highly recommend it. I think it like literally just 2 days ago fell out of my top 10 for this year. I can double check this. It's my number 11 for this year,
wow.
And it just fell out of that list. It's really good. Go watch it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I saw it a press screening back in February for it, and I was absolutely blown away when I walked out of the theater. My review, you can read my review. It's up on cinesportstalk.com. I'll tell you what. When I was watching wrestling, Paige was coming into her own. She started coming into her own, and so I didn't really know her story. I actually liked her, but I just was like kind of at that time sick of wrestling. I just got sick. I went through the entire Rock era of wrestling. They call it the Attitude Era of wrestling. Stone Cold, The Rock, Bret Hart, that whole era. And I'll tell you what, The Rock, he's so good that he could turn a career of football, a ruined career of football, when he blew his knee out at the University of Miami. Notre Dame player blew his knee out, which thank God that happened, because you don't want to root for injury for people, but he wouldn't have got into wrestling, which was his uncle, Rocky Maivia. His uncle was Rocky Maivia, so he took the name The Rock. And we would have never, who knows, we never would have seen The Rock the way we see him today in movies and in entertainment like we do today if he would have kept on playing football, because he would have kept on playing football. The guy was a beast. He was an absolute beast. And I love this movie. Him playing himself is one of the best things he's ever done. I know it sounds weird, but he needed to be in there. He needed to kind of build this movie on his reputation. And like this Vince Vaughn is in the movie. He's playing a character that doesn't even exist. He plays an amalgamation of characters. And sometimes in movies, you do have people that will play amalgamation of characters, like three people. Like in Moneyball, Jonah Hill plays basically three people as one person, So, and I absolutely love Fighting with My Family. It's a little bit further down my best of the year list because probably, and I'm not bragging, I've probably seen more movies than Cam. But it's probably in the neighborhood of like 25 right now because I've seen so many movies. Absolutely love Fighting with My Family, Cam. Great choice.
For me, it's 11 out of 65.
Yeah, I've seen probably close to 300 films this year. Jeremy, did you want to say something?
I mean, the only thing I might have to add, not having seen the movie, is I think it's really it's nice for me to see that this was directed by Stephen Merchant, who is somebody I've been a fan of for a very long time, a great comedic actor. He is a partner with Ricky Gervais. They did a lot of great stuff together. So to see him kind of emerging as an actual director and filmmaker, making a movie like this that's, gotten so much acclaim and love from people, that's always exciting to see too.
Absolutely. You're right. Stephen Merchant, great director, great character actor. You've seen him in things like Logan and whatever.
Yeah.
Jojo Rabbit. He's in Jojo Rabbit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So good, so good.
Yeah. All right. You guys, it's your number one. It's Cam. I'm assuming that you guys have the same number one.
We do.
3, 2, 1. Tooth Fairy. No.
Race to Witch Mountain.
All right. So Jeremy, what is it? Or Cam, whatever. Either one of y'all just go ahead and say whatever.
Why don't you just sing one of the songs, Cam? I know you know them all.
No. But yeah, no, it's Moana.
It's Moana.
All right. You guys both have Moana. Go ahead. Discuss it. I'll wait till the end and say.
I'll let you start it off, Cam. I think you probably are more educated on this than me.
Alrighty then. This movie came out when I was 16 years old. I saw it in the theater on a Sunday afternoon with a couple of my friends, and I really liked it. I was extremely excited for this movie because I'm a theater kid in the 21st century, which means I'm obsessed with Lin-Manuel Miranda and anything that he does. And I watched this, and I love it. Just the story's fantastic. The music, all of the music in this movie, except for one song. There's one song.
You don't like I'm Shiny, do you?
Shiny is awful. Shiny is garbage, and I hate it.
I like it. I like it.
Shiny, no.
I like Shiny, but that's fine.
Great. Fantastic character. The Rock is great in this movie. The animation is beautiful. There's great moments of emotion. My favorite song in this is I Am Moana, the Song of the Ancestors, which is she's like on her boat alone talking to like the spirit of her grandmother, and it's just a beautiful emotional moment. The animation in it is incredible. It's a great story. It's really cool. Lin-Manuel Miranda is the greatest man to ever make music. I don't actually think that, but he's really good. In the Heights trailer drops tomorrow, and I am hyped.
Oh, yeah, I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy this movie. The Shiny sucks, but
Jeremy, go ahead, Jeremy. Take it away.
I mean, I echo Cam's words about the movie. It's a great Disney film. It's one of their best princess films. It really, I think it has really great things to say from the cultural perspective, some great iconography and history that they build into the story to make it a little more authentic than some of their past films. And overall, beautifully animated, really inspiring, a great message, a great lead character with Moana. So I echo all of that stuff, and the music as well. Some of the best music of any recent Disney film. But the main thing, the reason it's my number one, and the main thing for me is I think it's the best expression of The Rock. I think that Maui is an absolutely like all-time great character. I think that the taking him and putting him in this role, having the look of the character, the way that they animate him, the kind of the stocky weird figure that he has, the usage of the tattoos coming to life and everything, it's just a perfect melding of a character with an actor kind of putting himself into it. And it's great because it's got a lot of the great characteristics you see in a lot of Rock's movies. Like he's got his huge ego, bravado. He's a little bit selfish, but at the end of the day, he is very heroic. And he is going to do the right thing, and he's this great character that you want to follow. All the stuff that you want to get from a Rock character, but it's like heightened to this other level because of what they can do in animation. And I think and giving him a nice song to sing and giving him some other colors and things that he hasn't been able to do in other films. I just think it reaches this high level of what you can do with a great movie star like The Rock. And this is a character that, because this movie is for children, this is a character that's going to resonate, and it's going to be a source of nostalgia for people many, many years from now. And I think it's going to live on, maybe more than a lot of The Rock's other movies and other characters.
I'll tell you what, guys. when I saw this movie, I was absolutely floored. I could not stop singing. You're welcome. I love the song. You're welcome. I think the world should say you're welcome that we have this man. I brought it up when Cameron's talking about. We are so lucky that we have Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, because he is such a talent, and for them to animate a character called Maui and it basically be Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I mean, they couldn't have done a better job animating a character and have him voice the character and play the character, and the tattoos, like Jeremy said, and that song, "You're Welcome." I mean, I was singing "You're Welcome" for weeks after that. You're welcome. I mean, I love that song. And Disney got back on track with some of these Wreck-It Ralph, Moana, and some of these movies. And they really started killing the box office with not only Pixar and Disney and Star Wars and Marvel, but they were just doing it. Didn't matter what it was. And The Rock being in Moana was just just high up there for them. One of their successes over the years. Another success for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is the reason why we're doing this, because we got Jumanji: The Next Level coming out this week, and my number one is Jumanji, and his character is Spencer / correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Smolderbrow. Is that wrong?
Bravestone.
Bravestone.
That's right.
Bravestone. Okay, Smolder Bravestone. My bad. So Spencer, who's a boy in the real world, finds this video game in his downstairs cellar.
It's in their school's basement.
The school's basement, yeah.
School's basement.
There's another one that I rewatched like the other day for this.
And he gets sucked into the game with him and his buddies. And he is just a normal kid. If you the kid's name is Wolf.
Alex Wolf. Yeah.
Alex Wolf. He was in Hereditary. If you haven't seen Hereditary, you should. He gets sucked in, and there's 4 avatars in the game. And one of them is Dr. Smolder Bravestone. He becomes Dr. Smolder Bravestone. And this guy is the epitome of bravery and just action. And I can do this and I can do that and this, that, and the other. And for this to be the new incarnation of Jumanji, they reboot things and rehash things and do sequels and prequels and all this stuff. And this movie came out a week after The Last Jedi and absolutely destroyed The Last Jedi in the box office. While The Last Jedi was dying slow
about that.
Well, yeah, it did destroy it.
It was the number 1 high-grossing movie of the year, but whatever. Go ahead.
Get out of here, was it?
Week to week, because Last Jedi was so front-loaded, whereas
that's true.
The legs to keep going.
It kept on going. Jumanji kept on going for weeks and weeks and weeks because of the hatred for The Last Jedi and the entertainment value of Jumanji. And one of those reasons is, once again, teaming up with Kevin Hart, and they have great chemistry again after Central Intelligence, plus Karen Gillan and Jack Black. I could go on and on about Jumanji.
Jonas and Bobby Cannavale.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Reese Darby.
Reese Darby, so good.
At what, your number 3, was it, Jeremy?
Yeah, it's my number 3.
So
I didn't have it.
If you got any thoughts on Jumanji, I hope I didn't say too much.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is one of the best uses of The Rock because this is a little different role for him, because basically he's like the heroic looking rock guy, but he's actually this, very shy teenager, and he's got to play this shy, 15 or 16-year-old who's just basically the shy kid who doesn't, hasn't really had much of a social life and is very not sure of himself. But now he looks like The Rock, and he's in this adventure thing, and they're in this life or death situation, and he plays all of those notes so perfectly. It's just, again, shows the tremendous comic chops that he has. And I think, a lot of people say it's harder to do comedy than it is to do drama a lot of times. And I think if you look at a movie like this and what The Rock does, I mean, he really is a tremendously gifted actor to be able to play all these different notes and the chemistry that he has with the actors like Kevin Hart. I really could see him doing like a great dramatic role and like an Oscar role down the road, because even though it's a fun movie, it's a popcorn movie, he's doing some really great work here. And so it's definitely very high up for me. And I'm really, really looking forward to the new one. Can't wait to go, because I went to see the first one in the theater with my stepsons and my wife. So I look forward to going back and having that experience again with the next one. And I do just have to say also, you were talking about reboots and everything, like the original Jumanji had a place in my heart. I always love that movie. I love Robin Williams, and for them to do this new take on it, to update it, and I think is, you know, by any means, I think is a better movie than the original Jumanji. They really kind of upped the ante, and there's a wonderful moment in the movie where they kind of pay homage to. They take a minute to mention Robin Williams' character and kind of take a moment to mention him, and that kind of touched me too. So, you know, this is the way to do it. This is the way to take an old property, one that's kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit, and update it and make a really terrific movie.
Yeah, they absolutely did. Okay, so quickly, I know Jeremy's got to go. So quickly, let's get a couple, maybe one or two honorable mentions from you, Cam.
Okay, I'm going to very quickly run down my list because I've got a few of them, but a lot of them were said already. Jumanji, Fast Five, and Central Intelligence were all honorable mentions for me. I had You Again, which is a movie where he makes a very small cameo as an air marshal talking to Kristen Stewart, and while he's not in the movie for long, that one moment is very funny.
The Kristen Bell?
It's an honorable mention just because I was a kid when I saw it and I liked it as a kid, but it's a bad movie. I had Pain and Gain because that movie's really fun. I had Shazam because he produced it. It was never going to make the list, but he produced it, and I considered maybe cheating and putting it at 5. And then I have 2 dishonorable mentions because this man has done some very bad things. One, he made a small cameo in Gem and the Holograms.
Yeah,
that's one of the best movies I've ever seen. But 2, he was the star in a little movie from 2 years ago called Baywatch, which is terrible and is the worst movie of that year, as far as I'm concerned. Baywatch, don't watch it.
Agree, Cam. I agree so much. Jeremy got a couple honorable mentions or one?
And I saw the movie, and I still think Baywatch is worse.
There's a lot that I haven't seen, but I'll say I give an honorable mention to Fast 6 and 7. I think he's great in those movies. You know, he's just so good in that franchise. And then one that I remember seeing kind of late night on HBO years ago and just thinking, not a great movie, but he was very charming in it, and it's kind of a fun movie, is the remake of Walking Tall. And you want a kind of an earlier Rock movie that's kind of fun. You could do worse than that one.
That's when he was turning the corner, Jeremy. Yeah. Those are the movies. I just got Pain and Gain because Pain and Gain is basically a story that I lived in Florida, that happened in Florida. Yeah. It was all over the news. People don't even know that this is a real story that actually happened. It was in the news all over the place in 1996. So I have Pain and Gain, and the Gridiron Gang. I got to get a sports movie in there. I'll tell you what, it's got a really.
I was shocked that didn't make your top 5, Dan. I was like, that would be on Dan's list with a bullet.
Well, I do like the Gridiron Gang. I just have these other 5 that I like better than the Gridiron Gang, but I really do like it. Has a lot of heart in it, and I was glad to see The Rock do something that had kind of some gravitas to it, and have, you know, and it's a football movie, but it's about kids and it's about. Yeah. Inner city neighborhood and so forth. All right, so Jeremy, just go down 5 to 1 your list.
So at 5, let me pull it up again so I can remember. I had The Other Guys. At 4, I had The Rundown. At 3, I had Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. At 2, I had Fast 5, and at number 1, I had Moana.
And Cam?
At number 5, I had Hobbs and Shaw. At number 4, I had Get Smart. At number 3, I had The Other Guys. At number 2, I had Fighting with My Family. And at number 1, I also had Moana.
All right, and I had Beck from The Rundown at 5, Maui from Moana at 4, Bob Stone from Central Intelligence at number 3, Luke Hobbs from Fast 5 at number 2, and Spencer / Dr. Smolder Bravestone from Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle at number 1.
I just had a couple more questions. So, like Race to Witch Mountain and the Game Plan, all those movies, are those all really bad, Cam? Because I haven't seen them.
The Game Plan certainly is. I remember as a kid thinking that Race to Witch Mountain was cool.
Okay.
I haven't seen it since I was 9. And when I was 9, I also thought that The Country Bears was a cinematic.
There you go.
The thing is, I hold that opinion to no.
And Dan, one that I've always heard about that I should check out, and I just never did, was Snitch. Have you happened to have seen Snitch?
Oh, I do like Snitch. Yeah,
Okay.
Snitch is actually pretty good. I would definitely recommend. I forgot all about Snitch until you just brought it up. Yeah,
All right.
Snitch is definitely one I would recommend seeing if you
All
have.
right. I was just curious about those ones because I was looking at the list today, and I'm like, man, I wish I'd seen this. Man, I wish I'd seen that. So good to know.
His filmography is a lot better now than it was maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You'd be like, nah, we can't do a Rock top 5. Now you can safely do a solid Rock 6 or 7 or 8 top if you wanted to, without putting something bad on the list. So, all right. So, Jeremy, where can you be found?
You can find me at Jeremy Paul Adams on Facebook and YouTube. You can find me on the Full Metal Media channel. I'm one of the head guys over there with all the great trivia shows and content that we do. And I'm sure everybody watching this is probably aware of the movie Trivia Schmodown on YouTube and on Facebook. I'm a question writer working over there, so always check that out.
And Cam?
Yeah, you can also find me over on Full Metal Trivia. I run and write Full Metal Classic on Sundays. We are in the middle of doing our tournament for the end of this year. 3 of our 4 first-round matches have been filmed. The other one is live tomorrow night. We had 2 of them tonight, 1 of them last night, and then we'll be filming that soon. You can also find me competing over there in singles and in teams. I'm currently in the teams tournament with my friend Jake Marangoni as the 2-headed dog. Our match dropped last week, and I highly recommend it. Please check it out. You can find me playing over at Multiplex in singles and in teams. Watch my singles matches. I have won multiple, so that's always nice. Yeah, and then you can find me generally around doing stuff. You can catch me on the Team 19 podcast coming soon to Multiplex, if I'm not mistaken, during the off season. And yeah,
and some guy is a singles champion over at Full Metal. I don't know who that guy is, but yeah, there's some dude over there you can check out too. All right, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, he's better than who puts on his name when he's in Full Metal. He's the champ of another league, which
not so much anymore. But
yeah,
but you can check that guy out over in the other league too.
Yeah, we don't. Whatever.
I was champion over in that other league. You can check out alongside me, kicking ass and taking names.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. This isn't about that. You can find me at Dan Skipbound on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. Yes, I got my Instagram back up and running. And I'm that guy. I do have lists and things going on Pinterest. I'm not some old housewife or whatever, cooking recipes and stuff. No, I have movie lists over there on Pinterest. So if you want to look at my Pinterest, go over there and check it out under Dan Skipbound. You can also find my articles. I write sports articles and movie reviews for a website called cinesportstalk.com. That's CINESPORTSTALK. That's cinesportstalk.com. Also, I'm a contributor for another website called Disappointment Media, where I do some movie reviews over there. So for Jeremy and Cameron, I am Dan Skipbound. Good night.